Welcome back. Today, we are getting into something that is at the very heart of every single successful software project, requirements. And we're going way beyond just making a simple list. We're going to dig into the different types of requirements and the art of figuring out what a project really needs to succeed. So let's just jump right in with a question I'm sure you've heard, or maybe even thought yourself. Aren't requirements just a list of features the user wants? I mean, on the surface, that makes perfect sense, right? But hey, if it were that simple, a whole lot more projects would actually finish on time and on budget. The reality, as you're about to see, is way more interesting. Okay, so to get past that simple feature list, we need a better way to think about this. A really solid place to start is to break requirements down into four key categories. Getting this right at the beginning, well, it's the difference between building on a solid foundation and building on, well, sand. First up, we've got the ones we all know and love, user requirements. This is basically the what. It's all about describing the system from the user's point of view, in plain English. We're talking about the services the system provides, the menus, the dialog boxes, the screen layouts, pretty much the entire visible behavior of the system. All right, but here's the thing. Not every requirement comes from a user clicking a button. That brings us to our next category, domain requirements. These are rules forced on you by the world your software actually lives in. For example, if you're building tax software, you're stuck with IRS regulations. Making an accounting program, you've got to follow GAAP. These aren't user preferences, they are the non-negotiable rules of the game. Now, let's switch gears a little. It's not just about what the system does, it's about how well it does it. And that, my friends, brings us to non-functional requirements. These are all about constraints like performance, reliability, and security. A user might not come out and say, hey, I need 99.9% uptime, but you can absolutely bet they'll notice if the system is down all the time. These are the requirements that really define the quality of the system. And this leads to a super important point. Do not confuse non-functional requirements with non-requirements. They sound similar, but they're worlds apart. A non-functional requirement is what the system must be. It must be fast. It must be secure. A non-requirement, though, is about what the system will not do. Explicitly stating, we are not handling international payments in V1 is incredibly powerful. It defines your boundaries and is your best defense against scope creep. So we've got our categories, but how in the world do we find all these different requirements, especially when users, let's be honest, don't always know how to explain what they need? This is where we have to get more active with a process called requirements digging. This quote right here, it just nails it. Requirements digging isn't about sitting back and taking notes. It's an investigation. Your job is to be a detective, peeling back the layers of every single request to find the true core need that's hiding underneath. So what does this detective work actually look like? Well, you can think of it kind of like a four-step filter. First, you have what the user says they want. Then you have to dig deeper for the unspoken need that's driving that request. Next, you have to check it against company policy and business rules. And finally, you have to separate all of that from the implementation, the how a developer might build it. The true golden requirement is buried somewhere in the middle of all that. Okay, that sounds like a great plan, right? But let's be real. If it were that easy, every software project would be a huge success. The truth is, requirements digging is incredibly hard. Let's talk about the three big reasons why. First up, the problem of scope. So often, customers don't really know what they want until they see something. This leads to that thing we all dread, requirements churn. It's that constant flow of new ideas, changing features, and deleted requests. This is probably the single biggest reason projects miss their delivery dates. Second, we have the problem of understanding. There's almost always a huge communication gap. Your customers are experts in their business, but they don't speak tech. And your developers know the technology inside and out, but they don't have that deep domain knowledge. Bridging that gap is a constant, an absolutely critical challenge. And finally, there's the problem of volatility. Even if you get the scope and the understanding perfectly right today, the business world never stands still. Markets change, new regulations pop up, competitors launch new stuff. Your requirements are not set in stone. Change isn't just possible, it is an absolute guarantee. So you're facing all these challenges: scope, understanding, volatility. How do you fight back? How can we make our requirements as strong and as clear as humanly possible? Well, we can start by running them through a simple but really powerful three-question test. Question number 1. Is it unambiguous? This just means that a requirement can only be interpreted one way. A classic trap here is a requirement like the system should be fast and user-friendly. Okay, what does fast actually mean? Without a specific number, the developer, the tester, and the customer can all walk away with three completely different ideas, and that is a recipe for disaster. All right, let's move on to our second test. Is it consistent? A new requirement can't go and contradict an existing one. It just can't happen. You can't have one requirement that says all data must be encrypted at all times, and another one that says users must be able to export data as a plain text file. They have to work together. And finally, we come to maybe the most important question of all. Is it testable? I love how the source material puts this. If you cannot figure out how to test a requirement, then you will never know when you've implemented it correctly. You'll never know when you're done. An untestable requirement isn't a requirement at all. It's just a vague wish. So here's the bottom line. Great requirements are almost never just handed to you on a silver platter. They're the result of a difficult, active process. They are dug for, they're challenged, they're tested, and they're refined. They are forged through collaboration and asking a lot of hard questions. Hey, if this breakdown helped you connect some dots for your own projects, do us a quick favor. Like this explainer, share it with your team, and definitely subscribe for more deep dives into building great software. And I'll leave you with this to chew on. What's the one requirement? Maybe it was an unspoken need, or a domain rule, or a non-functional thing that you wish you had caught on your last project. The one that could have changed everything. Let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.